So, okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining us again. This is Speaking with PRO. And today we're going to, I promised last time that we're going to talk to singles today. So I hope Pastor is ready to share
Oh
some
yeah, are we
nuggets
the
for
singles?
singles. Yes,
Oh my
yes.
God.
Because the best time to prepare for marriage is before marriage, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're in it, it's kind of hard it
Yeah.
gets more complicated to get up if you have to. So we're gonna talk to singles, I guess look at, we just learn from you and try to help people not to make any mistakes. And so let's go. How can someone know that they are ready for marriage? Because I know it's not by age. There are some people that are 40 and they have no business getting married. They're so immature. You
Okay.
know, how can someone be spiritually ready? So my question will have two parts. How can you be physically, emotionally, mentally ready for marriage and spiritually? And how can you know, especially from a woman's side, if the person your potential is ready for marriage? Because I feel like it's important for the man to also be ready for marriage and not necessarily trying to get married because he wants you. You know what I mean? Because there are some men that they don't know what marriage comes with, but they see a beautiful woman and they're like, this woman wants to get married. Let me get married to her so that I can have her. So so how can I know that I'm ready for marriage? And how can I be certain that a man is ready for marriage, spiritually, emotionally, mentally? What are the things I can look out for as a single
Well,
woman?
I think it's a good question, and I shared some nuggets yesterday during the service. I won't I won't go to the nuggets now. I'll just speak from my mind now.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, let's start with a woman. How does she know that she's ready? Number one. Yes, you are right. It's not about age, but age is still going to be a factor. Age is still important in the sense that a 16 or 14-year-old can't say, I want to get married. She's too young. She's not of that marriageable age. So, in that regard, age will be a factor. Yes, it is true somebody can be 40, 50, and they are not mentally or emotionally or even financially ready to be married because marriage is all about responsibility. Now, let's just start with the lady first, the woman who wants to get married. We need to, uh, you know, get some things right. Number one, she needs to be of that marriageable age. She can't be a teenager and be talking about marriage, especially in our culture. There are certain places in the world where a 12 or 13-year-old could be ripe for marriage. But generally speaking, that is still a child. 12, 13 is still a child. She
Mhm.
knows nothing about being a mother yet or marriage. So if we say age is no longer a factor, maybe this person is 18, 19, or in her 20s and then she wants to get married, we can check that out and say, well, age, yes, she's ready. But we need to also um, show that she's, um, how do I say this? She's mentally ready. Mentally ready in the sense that she's grown to a certain extent because now you said it right, age may not always be a factor, especially when somebody is an adult, but adult age-wise, physically, but
Mhm.
mentally, emotionally, there's something still lacking. You may say, well, I don't think you are prepared or you are ready for marriage yet. So for that lady, she needs to get to that marriageable age, one. Number two, she needs to be mentally ready to be a wife, to be a mother. And when I say mentally ready to be a wife and a mother, I'm talking about all it takes to be a wife. Are you ready to be joined to another human being, another man? Are you ready to live with that man? Are you ready to start having children? Or even maybe you don't want to have children. Immediately you are married. Maybe you want to just be married and wait for a long time. Or maybe you don't even need a child. But at least you want to be married. You want to share your life with somebody else. And it's not going to be as it used to be, because now that somebody is in your life, there are certain decisions you can't take single-handedly. Because now you are married, the man will have a say in your life, you will have a say in his life, and all of that. So we need to be sure that, are we mentally ready? Are we prepared for marriage? Marriage is a whole different world. It's different from courtship. Courtship, you still have the freedom to walk away, but once you're married, it's a different experience entirely. Now, I don't want to add finance to it, but yes, finance is also very important, because you don't want to be married to a man and become a liability, or you don't want to be married to a man and you are at the mercy of that man. And this is where abuse comes in many marriages, because you never can tell if that man is not mentally or emotionally matured to be a husband. Then finance can be a big factor in that marriage. So there are so many other things that one will have to put into consideration before we start thinking of marriage, for the woman and for the guy. For the guy now, is because he's going to be the man in the house and the head of the family, he has to be financially ready, and he has to be mentally ready, mentally prepared. He has to be mature enough to run a home, to run a family, to be a leader. And I think this is where a lot of men, they fail in, because husbandhood is leadership. When you become a husband, you become a leader. You take decisions that will affect the family. So you have to be ready to lead the family. You have to be ready to lead uh, or guide the woman you are married to, because I think a lot of women will want to be married to a man who can be a man, who can take charge. So they are not married and still living as if they are single, because sometimes the man is just there and as if he's not there. So the man has to be mentally ready, matured. And I keep saying, the Bible says it is not good for a man to be alone. And it is the man that will leave his father and his mother, not the boy. So the Bible is talking about maturity. We have to be mentally matured, financially stable, and physically fit to be a husband.
Yes, thank you. And then the second part, as from a man's perspective,
Yeah.
how can a woman know that the man um is not, like, yes, you talked about how you can personally know. So
Yeah.
how can I know that this man is a worthy husband, is a leader, is going to be a leader, he's even ready for marriage, he's going to survive marriage?
Yeah. Well, yesterday we were at the church, and I think I said something close to this, even though I didn't want to go back to the nuggets, but I'll say something. I said during courtship, before, if I'm a woman, for example, before I marry a man, I'm going to make sure I understand some critical things or critical aspect of his life. For example, how does he manage his anger, his emotion? Because that is very critical. You can't get married to somebody and for a lifetime, you won't have misunderstanding. I haven't seen it. I don't think there's any marriage like that unless they are deceiving themselves. Two people can't be together and day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year, all is well. Nothing has gone wrong. We've been cool all this time. I think somebody may be lying, because two people cannot be 100% identical. Yes, they can be so matured or so compatible that they can overlook each other's flaws, but that doesn't mean that those flaws are not there. Now, if I want to be married to somebody, one of the things I'm going to really make sure I test very well during courtship is, how do you manage your anger? What gets you angry? I want to know, what will I do that will make you angry? And what will I do that can end this marriage? Now, his answer would tell me where he is mentally and emotionally. Now, you know very well that the issue of finance is a factor. You can't marry somebody who has no job, who is jobless. He can't even take care of himself. Well, why would you be talking about marriage? Or why would a person even be talking about marriage? If that person wants to marry you, you probably will ask the person, marry me with what? You still live with your parents, you don't have a job. That person can't talk about marriage unless you're going to be the financier of the marriage and take care of the man, or perhaps just working or walking by faith that marry me, then I'll get a job. And if you want to take that risk, that's a different thing. But at least before he can talk about marriage, he must have something to take care of himself and the lady he wants to be married to. Now, on the part of that lady, how does she know that this man is ready? I said how he manages his emotion, how he handles his downtime or his anger. Some people, when they are angry, nobody can beg them. So those are red flags you can pay attention to before you say I do. And I also want to ask the guy um, his vision, his goals, because people don't pay attention to that. But if you marry somebody who is going nowhere, he will lead you to nowhere. And so a lot of times you get married and you now try to build that man. Now, you can help a man grow, but at least let him lay his foundation first. Before you get into the marriage, make sure he has a foundation. Now, in the marriage, both of you can now build on that foundation. But when you marry somebody without a foundation, I'm talking about foundation in the sense that somebody must have a vision, a goal for his life, and vice versa. You know, a man wants to marry a woman who has a vision for her life, who is going somewhere. So I believe in purpose. I believe that we all must live for something. We must have a goal. We must have a vision. And so as a woman, make sure the man has a vision, has a goal. When I was going to be married to my wife, we walked down the street. I remember that evening, November 4th, 2009, 2008. We took a walk, and that was intentional because I really wanted to get to know her. I will be traveling back the next day, so that was the only time I had to get into her heart. And so I asked her questions about her life, her dreams, her goals, and she asked me similar questions. And so we talked, and that gave us access into our individual hearts. We spent that evening on goal sharing, talking about the future. And I can't lie to you. Many of the things we spoke about that night have come to pass. So we live each day intentionally because every decision since then came from what we discussed that day. Nothing is new to me, nothing is new to her because we both talked. So I think courtship offers us an opportunity to prepare and to prepare very well. You can't marry somebody you don't know. Spend time to ask questions. Ask questions, deep questions. You are not being invasive. You want to know. This is your life. You're responsible for your life. If somebody wants you to uh, share your life with him, then the person should be willing to talk about his life with you. It's a big risk for many people because when you say I do, like you said at the opening of this session, you said, once we get into marriage, it's not all that easy to walk away. And that's true. There's no divorce during courtship. Divorce is only in marriage. So during courtship, if it's not working, you can walk away. Nothing is wrong with that. But when you are married, then it becomes a different thing. Walking away is not easy. So before we say we do, we need to get to understand where this man is emotionally, financially, mentally. In fact, we can also add to it relationship-wise. What's his relationship with his parents, with his siblings, with his friends? What kind of friends does he have? Is he the kind of person whose friend you can't talk to? Because if he has friends that are not of good character, that may be a signal to who he is. Because you will always walk with your kind for the most part. So you want to check all of these things and know what you're about to get into, because some of the battles we fight in marriage will be unnecessary if we have taken care of them before we enter the marriage.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Um, so we're gonna go a little bit deeper now.
Okay.
A lot of, I hear a lot of singles are concerned, about all this keeping yourself to marriage. I always hear like, how will I know it's working if I don't test it and all that? So, what are the tips to give like Christian singles or Christian couples? How can they maintain like sexual purity before marriage? And how can they prepare for a healthy sexual life? Like how can you test your compatibility? Let me put it like that, because this is always a wide conversation. Like,
No, yeah.
yeah, you're telling me not to test it. What if I now enter and then he can't do, or she can't do, or the person's libido is lower, libido levels? Because we know these things happen in marriage, and
Yeah.
maybe the woman's libido is way higher than the
Yeah.
man, or vice versa. And then they're struggling because they're not sexually compatible. Is there a way to know before marriage, or it's just a risk you have to take, or you just have to leave that in God's hands? And then what are tips to for couples that don't want to defile themselves before marriage? How can they maintain sexual purity?
All right, let's start from the last one. How do they
Mhm,
or how can they maintain sexual purity?
mhm,
Here's my candid response. If you don't want to eat it, don't smell it. Or if you're not ready to eat it, don't smell it, because if you smell it, the urge or the temptation, the craving to eat it will be higher. What do I mean? You can't begin to um, put yourself in a very compromising position. For example, being alone in an isolated place or visiting each other when you know that there won't be anybody around. So because you already have feelings for each other, you're in love.
mhm,
The craving, the urge to have sex will be highest. I don't care whether you speak in tongues. You will be so strong to control yourself not to fall. So it is better not to be exposed to such temptation. If you must visit each other, let somebody accompany you. So, and the fear of God, you have to be intentional not to do it, because the temptation will always be there.
mhm,
You will be fighting the temptation, and you won't be able to fight and win this temptation unless you are very intentional. You can't leave it to chance. You can't say, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and you expose yourself to temptation. Over time, you probably will fall. If Joseph did not run away, Potiphar's wife would have won. He would
mhm,
have done it. He had to run. The Bible says we should flee. And part of fleeing in this sense is not to run away from the person you want to be married to, but you run away from the potential sin that can happen when both of you are compromised, or you are in a situation where there's nothing restraining you except both of you. And if both of you are craving, there's an urge for both of you, it is safer if somebody is now feeling what the other person is feeling. At least if that person wants to do it, you can say, oh, no, no, no. But if both of you can't control it, you will have sex. That is just going to happen. I can't say it better than that. Now, do we test it before we get married? I know I've heard this many times. People who think that, oh, what if he can do? What if he can do more than me? What if? Those are assumptions and fears. And
mhm,
are they not legitimate fears? They are, because we've seen cases where two people got married and they realized that, this person can do, or this person can do too much, and it becomes a problem in the marriage. And so the in hindsight, people now start saying, oh, maybe if we have done it before, I would have known. It won't be a surprise in the marriage.
mhm.
But again, that's the same. That's what the Bible says. We can't erase it from the Bible. As Christians, this is the challenge of many Christians that want to get into marriage. I know the new generation, even though a lot of Gen Zs go to church, they serve in the choir, in the usher department and everything. And there are so many churches with a lot of young people. They are quote and unquote for Jesus. They are hyping and having all kinds of events and programs and all of that. But in most of those churches, these young people having sex with each other is not a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
They don't even think it affects their Christianity, or they think God understands. And this is the reality. This is what is trending now. And a lot of pastors of young people, they know this, and they won't want to say anything in this neighborhood where we are because it could drive them away or be offensive to them. And so they say things, they shy away from what the Bible says about fornication because they know this is prevalent among the young people. But that does not still change the position of the Bible, God's position on this. Now, a few days ago, I was sharing something with my wife. Um, Chlorine can kill, and sodium can kill. If we ingest sodium, it can kill us. Chlorine can kill us. But when you combine these two chemicals, sodium chloride, salt, is a nutrient that helps us.
Mm-hmm.
So, but by themselves, they can kill. So there are certain things that are not beneficial until they are combined, like sodium and chloride. And this combination is only approved in marriage. So what we would do in marriage that will be beneficial when we do it outside of marriage, when we don't have an approval of doing it, ingesting sodium or chloride without approval, without the approval is the combination, maybe death sentence. So sex outside of marriage is a sin. I'm sorry, that's the Bible. And
Yeah.
that's my position. Now, how do we now know the sexual preference or appetite or whatever of the person?
Compatibility. Mm.
Compatibility, thank you. I think this is where communication, I'm very big on communication. I believe strongly that when you talk, when you don't hide, when you are not pretending, when you are truthful, when you are plain, when you can even make yourself vulnerable to a fault just because you want to get the truth, you will get the truth. For example, you can have, candid conversation, truth, talk truly about this. I think when I was getting married to my wife, we had a conversation around this topic. We talked about it because we didn't have time to even court. We talked about it. So I think a guy who wants to get married to a lady should not be afraid to have a conversation on this. How do you like it? How many times per day, per week, per month? So you can cross note. And if there are gray areas, there are areas where, the guy is talking about maybe twice a day, and the lady says, you want to kill me? Twice a day is too much. Or maybe 3 times in the week, and the guy, 3 times in the week, I don't know if I can cope. Maybe the guy needs it maybe 14 times. If it is twice a day, that's 14 times in a week, and the lady is screaming, you want to kill me? So it could turn to joke. They don't have to quarrel about this. Maybe the lady will say, okay, maybe I can do up to maybe 5 or 6 times a week. And then the lady is going up, the guy is coming down. Say, okay, if you can go, let me come down from 14 just per day. And sex is also for a time. I'm in my 50s now. I understand that as you grow, the urge for sex will also diminish. So it could be a big thing at the early days of the marriage when they are still younger. But as they age, it's not going to be a big deal anymore. As a matter of fact, when they start having children, many people, when they start having children, the time to even have it, like when they first got married and it was just two of them, that time may not always be there anymore. So, but I think it is something we can talk about instead of doing it in the name of testing it, because that test is a sin. Adam and Eve, they ate the fruit. Maybe they were testing the fruit to know what the devil, if what the devil told them was true. But a test will lead to a sin. You don't have to test it. It's still going to be your food. You will eat it eventually. But you can talk about the meal. For example, if I go to the restaurant and I want to order steak, they will ask me, well done, half done, or cooked. I'll tell them, well done. So we talk, and I know that what I have said is what they will bring. And if they don't bring it, I'll tell them to go back and do it. So I think what I can say to the young people is please talk about it and be honest. And don't say, well, if I tell this guy that I want to do it every day, he may think I'm, I'm, I'm bad. If he's going to be your husband, be honest. It's better to know who you are, your sexual urge now, than for you to be struggling when you get married. And the best time to really get the attention of that guy is now that he's hunting for you. There's probably nothing you do or say now that will make him go away. If he goes away, then he's not meant for you. But if he's your husband, he will talk to you and you will be able to hear each other out.
Okay. So I guess from singles, they're going to talk about like new couples.
Yeah.
This is an issue that also affects a lot of marriages. How soon should couples put finances together? Like, is it as soon as you get married, before marriage, or never? Is it case by case basis? Because a lot of people talk about joint accounts, and before in early in the marriage, you may not know the person's like financial appetite, their lifestyle, like how they handle money, and then you've already started putting money together, and then when you stop, it's a problem. So when do you for new couples, when do you advise them to start putting money together? Should they put money together?
Well, I think this is another good question, and I've gotten it a lot. It could be on a case by case basis, and I'll tell you why. I favor joint account, but I also realize that it doesn't work for every couple. There are people that will tell you that when we did it, he or she was just spending. Every time we put money there, it's going to be zero balance before you know it. One of the two could be very reckless with spending, and it won't help the other person to keep the joint account. Or it could be for some other reasons that are just peculiar to the couple. But I don't see why two people cannot really come to agreement on this. And this takes me back to communication. When we sit down and talk, there are times when we can adopt some measures to control the free spender. Maybe we have a certain allowance every month and say, okay, from the joint account, we take this allowance. Whatever you want to use it for is okay. This is my own allowance, so that we can have savings, so that we don't just dip hand in our joint account. So whatever you want to spend your money for, you don't need to tell me, is your allowance. Those are some of the measures that we can adopt to control that. But when we are working together as a couple, my position on joint account is this. And money is very, 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 very important in every relationship. It's so important that it can make or break a marriage. So if we talk, if we are truly one, for example, if everything I own belongs to my wife, and I don't have another wife, and I love my wife, I don't see why I'll keep anything away from her. We are one. That's how God wants us to be. We are one. So if you can sleep with a lady, or you can sleep with your husband, you can share your body. Your body should be so important to you. If you can share your body with the person you are married to, what about your money? So yes, I know there are some people they can lead to abuse, it can lead to some recklessness or some other things, but this is where communication comes in. You sit down and talk. And if you have a joint goal, you put money together, you know this family must not suffer. You know you have to protect the family must not be stranded. There's need for us to save for other days. We have children, we have goals, we have things we want to do together. So we can think collectively, we can work together as one. But I think a lot of people don't favor this position because it's either some things have happened or a soft issue, the trust has been broken, and there's all kinds of suspicion. Or some people are afraid that if I build with this man, he may drop me tomorrow and go pick another young
Mm.
lady. What will be my lot? So a lot of people are afraid of the unknown and they don't want to be with any man. Or maybe somebody told them, don't trust any man. Oh, and they heard a story of
Maybe their
somebody who
father.
trusted a husband, and so they bring all kinds of stories and say, this other person will warn her. She did not listen. Look at what the man did. And so all those things can create fear, and the fear of unknown, the fear of what hasn't even happened. And some people will just begin to act on the information. And sometimes it's unfortunate because the person you are suspicious of may never do such. And so when we don't give each other the benefit of the doubt and we want to judge our marriage by that other marriage, we could be in error. So I think if we can sit down and talk and get to understand each other very well. Talking is one thing, but it's not everything because you can talk. Talk is cheap. So people can say things that they don't even mean. But beyond that, you need to study this person. You need to test him, especially during courtship. I said it yesterday during the service that you have to test, squeeze this person, squeeze. It's just like you squeeze an orange, the juice will come out. When you squeeze a man, when you squeeze a woman, what is in the person's heart will come out. You will know. And so you spend time to get to know each other. And where there is trust, this won't be an issue at all. But I know it's always an issue between husband and wife, especially money. If you take money, sex, and what else, you take it out of marriage. Most marriages will survive. Money and sex. When I say sex, I'm not just talking about sex between husband and wife. You know,
Infidelity.
trust, because infidelity, if they won't cheat on each other, and money is not a factor. Maybe the other thing you can add to it is submission. Um,
Or
where
in-laws. Sometimes in
submission and love and submission, man loving the wife truly and the woman respecting the husband. When all these things are in place, most marriages will survive and succeed easily, because every marriage that fail, you can trace the failure to one, two, or three things I just mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, talking about kind of a spin-off of money. So, I'm a woman. Let's say I'm a woman that I have like four properties. You
yeah,
know, I got married at 39,
yeah,
and I've done well for myself, and I have four properties, and I'm getting married. I'm about to get married. Do you recommend, like, in a lot of times when people get married, the other person, I don't want to say man or woman, may insist that, okay, put my name on your property since we are now one.
yeah,
Or some people just say, you know what, let's get a prenup. Whatever I have before marriage, you're not entitled to it in case we divorce. And whatever you have before marriage, I'm not entitled to it in case of divorce. And a lot of very wealthy families do this just because they want to save because in marriage, if you end up in divorce, most states splits into half. So it can go into their, inheritance, go into their wealth. So is that godly? Like I know some Christians don't support prenup because they're like, oh, you're anticipating divorce. But so what are your thoughts on that? Because in 2026, a lot I've been seeing a lot of, especially even Nigerian couples are getting prenups now because they're like, no, don't touch. I got this house before you. Your name cannot be on this house. Whatever we can get together in the marriage, fine. But the one I and the reason why it's also relevant because a lot of people are getting married older. So statistics is showing that especially women are getting married older as opposed to previously when people were younger, they didn't have anything. So it may not have really been an issue in the church.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on prenups? How should people handle like their wealth before marriage?
Well, this is another very important yet complicated topic. I think I understand why anybody can, ask for prenup because the world has changed. Marriage has changed its definition from how God intended it. We have to face that reality because people marry for all kinds of reasons these days, not love all the time. So to protect oneself, I can understand why a lady who builds some houses or owns some properties before she gets married would think that, well, I have to protect myself because I'm not even sure if this guy is marrying me because of
Right.
love. And so what may be his attraction, maybe my properties, maybe that's why he's marrying me. I'm going to protect myself and my property to the extent that if anything happens, if he changes his mind tomorrow, you can't just get what you didn't work for. And so I can understand why some people will say, well, we have to sign this agreement before we marry. And the moment they sign the agreement, I think the marriage becomes a contract. So you're not just signing an agreement on the property or whatever, you're signing an agreement on a contract, not a covenant, not a marriage. Because marriage, as God intended it, is that two shall become one. In other words, whatever you both own before marriage, once you are married, you are co-owners. If I am the Lord, as the Bible says, Sarah called Abraham her Lord. If I am my wife's husband, I am her head. In my culture, Yoruba, Adeolorimi. That's how the Yoruba people, the Yoruba woman will call her husband, and that is close to what the Bible says, how Sarah called Abraham her Lord. Now, you own me. Why won't you own everything that I own? So that is the question. And it is vice versa. If you are my husband and you belong to me, then everything you have as a man is mine, just as mine will be yours. So that is what I believe God intended, but things have changed. And so right now, people can now say, do you know it's not just about property? What about life insurance? Somebody who has life insurance, that person can kill you because of the money. So people get married for all kinds of reasons and gains. And so I think it is just wise, as much as I may not be able to expressly counsel a Christian couple, if they come to me, I may not be able to tell them and say, go and sign prenups, because me doing that is creating doubt on the marriage right there. So people should not marry based on contractual agreements. It should be a covenant. And this is why you should marry somebody that God has chosen for you. We need to pray before we choose. We need to look before we leave. So people do it. I understand why they do it. Are they wrong? I don't think so, because they are not sure. People who do that, they are not sure. They can't tell me that if anybody does that is because there's a suspicion somewhere. There's a concern, there's a fear somewhere. either from past experience of what you heard or what you're thinking, and because you don't completely trust that person, you're trying to, and sometimes it could be uh, a corrective measure or a restraining strategy, in the sense that you may do that to restrain that person in case this thought ever comes into your mind. You won't think in that direction. So it could be corrective or protective in a way, because you may sign it not because you are doubting the person, but because you love this person and you don't want this person to fall into that temptation of uh, you know, leaving you because of gain. So it could be a protective or restrictive measure so that temptation will not come in that direction. So some people can sign it for all kinds of reasons, but is it what God will really want us to do? I think not. I don't think it is God, it is in God's intention, because when that man left his father and his mother to be joined to his wife, I think in God's mind, it is for these two to become one in everything. And so if a woman can change her name to the man's name, and I told my wife one day, I said, I am the only man that will die and you become a widow. If all men in this world die, as long as I'm still alive, nobody will call you a widow. If all the women in this world die and you are still alive, I won't be a widow. That's how powerful marriage is. Now, this is around 1, almost 2 p.m. In about 1.5 hours, go to the highways, you see all vehicles, people returning home. Sometimes when I'm on the highway, I'm like, all these vehicles on the highway, everybody is going somewhere. They are going home. Everybody has an address. Now, among all the vehicles on the road, there will be husband on I-30. Maybe the wife is on I-20. They just close from work and everybody is going home. These two people, they know their address. They won't go to another person's address. They are sharing that accommodation because they are married. So marriage for me is very powerful. And I don't see why two people will be married and they won't trust each other. I just don't see it, but I know it happens. And I've experienced it before. So that would be my take on that question.
Okay. Do you think long distance marriage can work?
Long distance marriage or courtship?
No, marriage. So
Marriage.
like for example, the example I'm giving is like now I'm dating somebody in Nigeria,
Okay.
and then we're gonna get married, immigration. Like, I mean, you were in a long distance marriage.
I was that, yeah.
Yeah. So like immigration, or I've seen a situation where the husband is a politician and is like, I'm not moving to America, or so the woman is here and goes back and forth. Do you recommend that type of marriage, or is it the God's way that you're supposed to live together all the time, or can long distance marriage work?
Well, for me, it worked. And as much as I won't recommend how I did it, because proposing under 10 minutes and getting married under like 5 months. And when we didn't live together, the next time we saw each other was on our wedding day. Um, I think ours is one of the unusual ones, but can it work? I think it can. It just depends again on the two people, why they are not together, and um, what they feel for each other. Now, can it be like this forever? I don't think so. I think at some point, sharing space with one another on a consistent basis will become necessary. They can't, if they're having children, for example, one spouse cannot be far away and the other one is dealing with that, with the children by himself or herself. I don't think the essence of marriage will be kept, because what is the essence of me being married? I'm still living by myself. I'm still alone. So maybe it could be a short-term experience, but it shouldn't be a permanent one because marriage is supposed to create a common uh, you have to live together in the same place. That's how you grow. If one is sick and the other person is not there to care, so you begin to ask this question at some point. What is the essence of this marriage? This person is not here. So I don't think it can work forever. It may work for a short time based on mutual understanding. Maybe somebody is working somewhere and the situation here will not allow me to go, or paper issue, for example. Wife is in a country, the other person is another country. Immigration issue kept them apart for a number of years or even months. Yes, they understand why they are still apart. It's something they can't help. But it's a different thing when there is no reason. They just, for some flimsy reasons, they just don't want to live together. I think some hard questions should be asked. Why? And again, you know very well, unless these individuals, in the case of the man, if the man is born again, fears God, he will be so uh, strong to control himself, to live far away from his wife, month after month, year after year, and not be tempted. So, because every human being is a sexual being, and this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize. I don't even care how much Holy Ghost you say you carry. You are still a human being. Blood runs in your vein.
Mhm.
Unless the person is sick. If you are sexually active, the urge will come. It's called biology. It's not a sin. It's biology. It's how the body works. The urge comes for a woman, for example, a lady who is ovulating. The way God created her body is during ovulation, she will want sex. That's how it is. It happens in the animal kingdom. When the animals are ovulating, they want to get pregnant. They know how to look for each other. And human beings, God has wired us when a woman is ovulating, that's when she's looking for sex. That's for procreation. I'm not talking about pleasure now. Can be done for pleasure, but the natural protocol is when the body is ovulating, the urge will be there for the woman. And for the man too, I think the man goes through some cycle when the body produces semen. And when the semen are produced, the body also have works in such a way that the body wants to discharge it. And so that's why a man too can have the urge for sex. So where this is not controlled, then you see the man just sleeping around because he can't control himself. When the woman too, so what I'm saying in essence is living apart is not safe, even for
Mhm.
that reason at all. Not to talk of the care that comes into marriage or comes from each other when you're married, just having somebody there, it goes a long way. Everything is not about money. Somebody can say, well, I'm making money for the family, but you are not around. I've
Yeah.
had couples that say, look, everything is not about money. I need you here. The
Mhm.
children need you here.
Yeah.
So the physical presence is needed.
Yeah.
And when a parent is absent, it could tell on the children as they grow, and it will have effect on the marriage. I haven't really seen anywhere this is done and everything is still perfect. Something will be missing somewhere.
So I think we've been talking for a while, so I'm just gonna ask one last question
Okay.
because I feel like in our culture,
Yeah.
the the main reasons why couples separate is money, sex, um, the submission, and in-laws.
Yeah. That's
So what for someone that is I've seen people that they're like they don't even want to marry a man that has a mother. I'm like that's very extreme, right? But how can if I'm trying to get married to someone, are there how important should I place the in-laws in my marriage. Because to me, where I was approaching marriage, I didn't really focus on in-laws because number one, I feel you can't control where you come from. Number one. Number two, I also believe in cleaving and leaving, right? So at what point is should what importance should someone put on an in-law, and what are the red flags to look at to show that okay, this in-law might be a problem? And then is that enough to sever the engagement as well?
I would say no,
Okay.
because there's probably nowhere you go to unless you are going to be married to an orphan, somebody who does not have a parent. If you are married to somebody who is from a family, you probably will find somebody in the family whose behavior you won't totally like. I think it's just something that is common to life. Now, if you're a woman and you don't want to marry a man who has a mother, unless you won't be a mother,
Yeah.
because one day somebody will say, I don't want you to be alive when I'm getting married to your
Yeah.
own. So it's not just the right thing
Mm-mm,
to
mm-mm,
say or to think.
mm-mm.
Yes, um, I understand the reason why some ladies don't want to have a mother-in-law, because some mothers don't know how to shift from this is my son when he is single or
Mm.
married to this is my son now that he's married. There's no school that mothers go to where somebody will teach them how to behave as mother-in-law. Because when the son was not married, they were just mothers. But now that he's married, they have a new title now, mother-in-law to somebody, the wife in the life of their son. So a lot of things in life, we didn't go to school to learn them.
Mm.
We didn't go to any school to know how to be a husband or a wife. And that's why we received this certificate. Certificates are commonly given after the process. You go to school, when you are done, then they give you a certificate to certify your learning that now you are a graduate. But they certify us at the beginning of the marriage
At the
because
beginning.
school ends. You learn forever. There's no day you can graduate from the school of marriage. So
Mm.
they just give it to us upfront. Say, take it and keep learning. So, uh, so there's no school we go to become a parent too. After marriage, we just have a baby and suddenly we are daddy. We are mommies. And there's no school. We didn't go anywhere where they sit us down and teach us how to be a father or a mother. We learn as we go. The same thing is true of our parents. They become grandparents or father-in-law, mother-in-law without anybody teaching anybody anything.
Mm.
The only places where we learn from are from examples around us, people before us, how they did it. And for the most part, we are left with wisdom, personal wisdom, life experiences, and perhaps our personalities and our approaches to life generally, because some people are just labor. They're just cool. They don't take any matter seriously. It's just who they are. And if you are a mother-in-law like that, your daughter-in-law can do anything because naturally you don't take things seriously. Your your behavior may just be like, I don't care what you do. And some other women, because of their personality, because they are high-handed, it could also show in how they behave as mother-in-law. So we've had cases where mother-in-law and wife, they don't get along. And what I'm trying to say is the mother may not know when and how to shift from being a mother to a mother-in-law. The same woman performing two roles, mother now, before marriage, now mother-in-law. She must know how to shift, to set boundaries. But a lot of women, they still want to be mother in the life of that boy and or that man, and still want to behave as if it's my child. Yes, it's your child, but it's now the husband of another woman. And so if you continue to behave as a mother to him, You may be performing the role of the wife, and there will be conflict. And some women will say, why is your mother uh, stepping her boundaries and doing this? What is the essence of me being your wife if she's doing what I should be doing for you? And all kinds of things will happen. And sometimes the mothers also want this lady, this wife, to treat her son in a certain way, take care of him. And so all those things will create tension between the two of them, because the lady is like, well, she shouldn't be telling me what to do. Because whenever the woman says this, she's feeling like she's failing in her duty, even though she may not put it in word like that. But she's angry for a reason like, am I not doing well? Am I not performing my duty? Why is your mom saying all of this? So most of these tensions come from us overstepping our boundaries. I'm talking about the mother, and I'm also talking about the lady now. The lady should also understand that before she got married to this guy had relationship with his parents, his mother especially. So now you coming into his life, you can't sack the mother overnight. So she needs to be a daughter to her mother-in-law, just as the mother-in-law should be a mother to her. You don't hear many cases about father-in-law and the daughter-in-law quarreling. No, most men don't have time.
Yeah.
And most daughter-in-laws, they are not scared, or they don't really have trouble dealing with their father-in-laws. But it's just maybe because of the equal gender or same gender, female to female. The heat is always between the mother, because these two women, the mother and the wife, they are competing, knowingly or unknowingly, they like that guy. So both of them are competing. They also have spaces. The mother has a space in the heart of his son, of
Yeah.
her son,
Yeah.
and the wife occupies her own space in his heart. So most guys don't know how to handle this. He loves his wife, he loves his mom, and the two of them. Put most men together who still have a mother. Put 100 men together. Ask them, what's the relationship between your mom and your wife? I can tell you about 90 to 95% of men will tell you, I think it could be better.
Mm.
I think it could be better, because a lot of times we manage some tensions at home between mother and daughter-in-law, or our wives and our parents. And because sometimes it's like some people don't know how to say some things, how to respond to some things, and it generates tension. So, what was the question again? Okay, you said how some ladies will say they wish they don't have a mother-in-law. I don't think it's
Yeah,
important.
yeah. I was saying that how important is the in-law in making your decision to marry someone? Is it something, because there's a Yoruba proverb, right, that says a bad husband is a bad spouse. You can have a
Yes.
bad spouse, but you can't have a bad in-law. Something like that. I can. Yeah. So like how important should, because there are some in-laws that are difficult, or like an in-law that does not like you, does not even want you guys to be married, right? There are some mother-in-laws or father-in-laws or even siblings that will voice it out that we don't like you, we don't want you to marry this person. So I said, how important is their um opinion or their behavior in picking a husband or a wife? Should you look at the family? Is the family going to be a reflection of what you get in the marriage, or is it something that they can just overlook and go into the marriage?
Well, if it is a parent, I will not say overlook it. If the parent is saying, I don't agree to this marriage, I know there are people that eloped, they ran away to be married without the consent of their parents. They will tell you that they have been on their own ever since. So the Bible says a man will leave his father and mother. That leave, that word there, is not leaving because we quarrel. It is living on agreement with the consent of the parents. So we need the blessings of the parent. We need the consent of the parent. Now the siblings are on the secondary level. If the parents agree to it and there's a sibling, uncle or aunt who is saying no, they are not the parent. So their opinion is secondary. If I want to get married, I'll be looking at the parent. If the parent of my wife accepts me, that's fine with me. I don't care about the sister, brother, their opinion. I'm looking at the parents. They give birth to her. And if they approve of our marriage, that's what is important. Now, that does not mean that for relationship reasons, for peace sake, that I will call the bluff of the rest of the family or whoever in the family that doesn't like me. Number one thing you need to know is this: you can't please everybody, and everybody may not like us. So as long as we keep that at the back of our mind, we shouldn't be bothered when somebody says, I don't like you, I don't like your God. For me, the party that is mostly important in the union will be the parents. Once the parents are in agreement, then I can handle the rest. Now, yes, somebody in the family may not like us. Perhaps there's nothing we can do that will make them change their minds. This is where the two of us that want to get married comes in. Now I'm going to ask my wife. We will talk about her brother or sister who does not like me. I want to hear her opinion. I want to hear what she says. I want to hear if that bothers her. I want to hear or know how she's going to handle that. So she's the one who will assure me more that it's okay for us to go on. Because if I think or know that the opinion of that person will affect her in the marriage, I'll take a pause. We need to address that before we go on. Even though the parents have agreed, but if the opinion of this person will have adverse effect on the marriage, because you will hear in some cases a sibling can have so much control over the person you're married to, and you're wondering, it's not even your parent. Why this so much control? So if you know that during courtship, if you're able to talk about it and you're not afraid to confront the matter and you talk candidly, you will know where you are and how to handle it. And the two of you may be able to handle that person together. So, but I think, yes, the family will be very important. We can't ignore them because these are people we'll be dealing with for the rest of our lives. The family is family. We are going to be together. You can leave a friend, you can leave a colleague, but you can't leave a family. You are there. It's like the destinies are connected. So you can't wish it away. But for me, the parents are number one. Then once the parents don't have problem, whoever has an issue in the family, I'll talk to the person I want to be married with and say, look, how do we handle this matter? And so together we can confront that issue. And those are things that will give me peace of mind to continue with our relationship.
Yeah, very good response. I don't have any questions. I think we've come to the end of our discussion. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for, thank you for the opportunity to ask you questions. I'm always learning every time I come here. So, do you have any last words that you want to share with everyone listening to
Yeah,
like singles?
since we're talking about singles today, I have said it before. In the book I wrote, Marriage is Like a Car. There is no vehicle, especially in modern history, that will have an engine knock without showing an engine light first. You will see the engine light on. It starts with an amber light before it turns red. When it turns red, that means you have done nothing for a long time. Now it's getting to a critical stage before the engine will knock. Now, many people ignore the signs, ignore the light. So we don't just have an engine knock suddenly, unless on rare cases. But I think mechanism has been put in place to make sure that we are warned before the problem starts. And I think in every relationship, there are signs. People don't generally or consciously pay attention to those signs. We ignore them many times. We overlook them. We don't take them serious. or we don't even pay attention to them at all. And so a lot of times when we look back, we now begin to remember the signs we saw that we didn't pay attention to. A lot of people will say, oh, now it's making sense to me. He said this, she said this, she did it, he did that. But at the time those things were happening, they were either carried away with love or carried away with the moment, and they didn't pay attention. And God, all this time, was trying to speak to them, but they were not listening. So what am I saying? Please, before you get married, pay attention to signs. If that person does not care about your birthday, if you call that you are sick and it takes 48 hours, 72 hours in the same city, 25 minutes drive apart for the person to even show up, is a sign of something going on in his mind. And so if that person can't share his money with you or takes you out to eat during courtship and is asking you to pay for the food you eat, in my culture, we don't do that. It's strange to me. As I know in some places, it may be their custom, but I don't think it's right. Let the man be the man. If you take a lady out to eat, you invited her, and you're asking her to pay for what she had. When you are married, the same thing will continue because you will divide the bills in the house and everything. And so you can't complain when you get married and say, this man is not being responsible as a husband. No, the signs were there during courtship. You didn't complain. Maybe you were desperate to get married to him and you didn't take it to be a big deal. So don't let it be a big deal in marriage. You taught him, you told him by your silence that it's okay to do that.
Do
So in
that.
marriage, if he continues, don't blame him. So here are the signs. There are so many signs. Ask question, push him, press him, squeeze him, and don't ignore the signs. When you see the signs, talk about it. It is just like an engine oil, change engine oil sign. When you see that sign, the vehicle is telling you it is about time to change the oil. And then the wise thing to do is go and change the oil. And the light, the sign will go away. So every time you see a sign, talk about it, address it. Don't be afraid. Don't run away. This is your life. And so you owe it to yourself to do yourself a lot of good by making sure before you sign that contract and say, I do, you got to be sure that, yes, you are ready to do. Amen.
I like that. Yeah, thank you, thank you. And so we're done, and we hope to, catch up again next week.
All right. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Sister Missy. I like the fact that I didn't know these questions before you asked me.
No.
I love it that way. And thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Every,
Thank you too. Have
all
a good.
right. You,
Bye.
bye-bye.